Today in the Nerdy Gritty, after a few weeks off, we're back, and we're catching up.
Hey guys, welcome back to you.
I messed it up.
What are you doing?
I was winging it. I'm so sorry.
Welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez,
And I'm Fox.
and I am back.
Guess who's back?
Back again.
Is better now.
Well, not wholly, not
It's
fully.
better.
So yes, better. No,
It's
significantly.
not as garbage as it was.
All right. Long story short.
Yeah, make it quick.
I ruptured a disc in my back. Re-ruptured. I'd already done it once before. They fixed it, but they didn't fix it good enough, and it happened
those
again.
Stupid surgeons.
And it had like disc material extruding 1.5 inches out of my spine, pressing against my sciatic nerve and shooting pain down the back of my leg to the point that I was losing feeling, and I still have, I don't know if it may never come back, feeling in the back of my calf and in a few of my toes. Well, and but they fused my spine together, and I feel
pretty cool.
So much better.
Why don't we all just get our spines fused if it just helps things?
You know, it was bad when my spine being fused together feels so much better.
Yeah. As a non-doctor, I don't know exactly what does that mean. Like, yeah, it helps you now, but also, like, it'll limit your movement, kind of thing.
Depending on where it is in your spine, in this spot for me, no.
Oh.
So because it's my L5-S1, it's way in my lower back.
It's one of my favorite.
Just above,
discs.
like, where my tailbone begins. Like, if actually right where my tailbone begins.
Just behind Compact and Ultimate Frisbee.
Shut up.
Okay.
You know. You don't move your tailbone much.
Maybe you don't, but when I'm in the club, I'm gonna need those discs to be to move as much as possible. So.
Yeah, my twerking is very limited now.
Yeah, it's a problem.
What? Oh, we're here. We're back for not a Haunted Doll Watch.
You're stealing that straight from the.
For yet another episode of Dez and Fox Rant at Bigots.
Ah, okay, yeah. Remember the first time I did that, I went with a and had to tune the knob to try to do something that I tried to not. Either way, it's fine. We got a Dez and Fox yell at races. I think I know what you're gonna bring up, but go ahead.
Disney has announced their casting choice for the newest Ariel in the Little Mermaid.
Yep.
And it's a an upcoming singing star named Halle Bailey.
Not Halle Berry.
Because when I looked at it first, it said Disney cast Halle Berry and I'm like, she's like 40.
Yeah, they're going like a middle-aged story now.
The Ariel was 16 in the movie.
And with her training off of John Wick 3, she's gonna be tearing people up. Ursula will not be able to. With her sea dogs are gonna tear Ursula apart.
But, Halle Bailey
has
been cast, and she is a young black girl, but apparently a very good singer.
Sure.
And as per usual, people
are upset because
people are mad that because
this mermaid is not going to be white.
It's so weird to me.
No, hold on. I'm not a racist apologist or a racist either. But if we're going to be accurate to what it would be what it would be like to be a mermaid, they probably would have like translucent skin.
Right.
Living underwater where there is no light.
But that would also assume that the purpose of a mermaid's skin color is sun. Maybe it's to hide in for the dark depths of the waters.
Sure. And that also would assume that they live at the super deep level of the ocean and not,
near the surface. Or
Ariel in the original animated version is pretty close to the surface.
Somebody made a really good point in that, look, the Little Mermaid probably takes place in the UK Caribbean. Like, because the Caribbean is actually part of the United Kingdom, like Britain owns the Caribbean.
Well,
but
sure.
There's not that much like sailing and stuff going on near Great Britain. It's probably in like an island area,
right.
Especially with the accent that Sebastian has through the whole thing.
That's true. You know what the best point is? Shut up, racists.
It's a fictional story.
Like,
why does it matter?
If you want white Ariel, go watch Little Mermaid, like the animated one.
I don't.
It's baffling. It's just a.
So I saw another tweet that was Scarlett Johansson cast in Ghost in a Shell. Well, they're probably looking for the best actress. You know, somebody to really bring out Halle Bailey cast in Little Mermaid. She's supposed to be white, guys.
I mean, people were upset about the Scarlett Johansson one, but
right.
Yeah, no, it's just what you got nothing better to do on the internet. There's things to do. Stop.
There's one on one side when it's a situation like Scarlett Johansson, in which, look, the culture of the person, of the character is important.
It's core to the story of Ghost in the Shell. It's
right.
set in Japan. It's a very Japanese.
Right. Absolutely. It'd be as if Pocahontas was not a Native American cast. It's core to the character.
Yeah.
But if the original Ariel was white or black, I mean, it wouldn't have changed the story at all.
Yeah, that's what I've always said is if their skin color has no purpose or point to the story, then it doesn't matter.
So, okay, this is a real comparison to me, where on the flip side, I was just as annoyed when there was a live-action Tarzan movie that came out not too long ago.
Yeah.
It was a white guy that was cast as Tarzan.
Sure.
And there were black people that were saying, no, in the jungles of Africa, there's no way a white man would be there. Tarzan should be black.
Well, isn't he supposed to be like a kid that was left behind?
Exactly. And my whole point was, no, this is key to the character of Tarzan. That he's a white UK man.
Well, sure. I mean, I could see it both. Like, to me, it's not his skin color that matters. It's just that he was a person left behind. So black people could. Like,
they were all slaves in the UK at the time.
I guess that's a good point.
Yeah.
Which, you know, they went on boats too.
I guess that's true. Woof.
So anyway, about this fun comedy, entertainment, pop culture podcast.
But at the end of the day, Tarzan's skin color doesn't really matter.
No.
And he was cast as a white guy. So
it was that he was not accustomed to human culture.
And so even on the flip side, it's not that it's white or black. It's just that, look, the skin color doesn't matter.
If the color of their skin would not change the story, then there's no point to complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someday they hire Tom Hardy to be, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah.
That's a problem.
Complain about that.
That's a big issue.
Complain
there
about
you
that.
Go.
Or if they hire a black person to be Hitler. Yeah. Complain about that.
That's going to be an issue.
Yeah. That was pretty important.
Go ahead. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's move on.
So we are. I guess we'll go ahead and hit. You know, before we get down to the quote unquote nerdy gritty, we're going to do something real quick. So, this episode is going to be an unedited episode.
Yes.
What we're doing here is Fox and I, me especially, have been doing a lot of things over the past 2 months.
We've taken a couple weeks off from podcasting, from like recording together, and
from
all
everything.
that, for our YouTube channel.
Because I have been either in excruciating pain,
yeah,
or B, in the hospital, and so it's been a long time since we've been able to do anything together. So this episode is just going to be a catch-up episode.
Yeah, we're talking about things we've been doing.
We both have been doing a lot of things.
Because we do that.
And so this is essentially what we do in the first, like, half of our podcast as it is. Our
typical episodes.
Yeah, and so if you listen to this podcast and you really enjoy it, know that this is what's usually edited out
Well, it's not completely edited
down.
We edit it down pretty heavily.
Yeah.
And then get to the nerdy gritty quicker.
Right.
And this time, basically the whole time, we're going to be just doing what we normally do at the top of the show. So if
you really enjoy our conversation here, hey, think about supporting us on Patreon.
Yeah,
Patreon.com/dezandfox. We'd really appreciate your support there. At the $5 and $10 level, you get the unedited nerdy gritty, as well as just being a patron at any level gives you a lot of exclusive content that we put up there, as well as early access to a lot of things. So it's a really good idea if you're interested in this stuff to head over there. If not, even just listening, we love your support. We love everything that you guys do for us. But again, if you enjoy what we do in this podcast, what we do in this episode, hey, think about going and supporting us at that $5 or $10 level. We'd really, really appreciate your help. At the $5 level, it's like one less video game a year. Essentially, it's $60 for a year.
That's too much to ask. I can't do it.
I guess maybe one less coffee a month. That's a better way to think of that.
Sure, let's go with that.
Okay, let's continue our conversation.
Get down
here.
To the nerdy gritty,
I guess. Okay, here's what I say we do.
Okay.
I say we break this down into subjects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Genres of pop culture.
Right. So let's start with comics.
Oh yeah, because I got something to talk about, but not a lot. So.
Right. And I'm going to talk about books, but they're book related or comic related books.
Comic related books.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, go ahead. Comics. You first.
So yeah, big thing. Batman Damned finished last week.
Yeah, that's right.
The third book came out last Wednesday. This was the one, if you don't remember, the controversial first issue of 3 featured Batman in all of his naked glory.
Yep. Right on that bat dong.
There was some it was pretty uncensored at the first printing. And people got upset about it, which I guess I can't have nudity in my Batman comic for some reason. But also, like, there's plenty of warning that there's a clear, like, mature readers only.
I think my honest only issue with it is that at that exact moment, it was not really necessary.
Nudity is very seldom necessary.
Right.
But it wasn't sexual in any way.
No, not at all.
It was just a
naked
naked
at the
person.
time, they were trying to show, like, a vulnerability of Batman.
Yeah, he's, like, wounded.
Yeah.
And, like, trying to get to well, he's in the Batcave, like... Yeah, so, I mean, sure, you can talk about necessary or unnecessary, but at the end of the day, that's what was in there.
Right.
And you can be offended, but whatever. So they censored it in the digital version, and then all subsequent, like, reprintings or whatever didn't have it anymore. But anyway, so that series ended last week, and I know I just gave it to you, Des, to read, so I'll try to be a little... Like I did with...
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers, but again, like I said with Heroes in Crisis, pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
The artwork is incredible. It's, what's his name? Lee Bermejo, I think is how you pronounce it. If you ever read the Joker graphic novel that came out maybe 10 years ago now.
I don't think I have, actually.
No, it's just about the Joker after he gets released from Arkham, and it's really good. Same creative team, same author and artist, and the art is so good. Like, clearly, like, painted, just really unique style to it. So that was really great. And the writing, the story to me was it just kind of seemed like it went nowhere. Like, again, maybe more so than Heroes in Crisis, because Heroes in Crisis, at least universe-wise, had something happen in it. This is a one-shot or a spin-off that is not in any continuity. It's just its own thing, and it presented this premise that, at the end of the day, actually none of that mattered. Like, it just kind of... It went back to the status quo that it started at, and that was the super disappointing part, because nothing really changed. And it tried to examine themes of Batman that have been examined to freaking death so many times. About dealing with his parents' death and dealing with his mortality and all these things.
That's tough for, like, the Trinity, though, because they've been around since the 40s.
That being said, Superman Year One, which is also in the Black Label line, same, like, big magazine size, started 3 weeks ago, written by Frank Miller, and it's great so far.
Okay,
he's not doing art this time; he's just writing it, which I'm not a huge fan of Frank Miller's art style, so I like it more. But I am a fan of his writing. And it's great. The first issue is it's Superman Year One. If you've ever read Batman Year One, it's very similar, kind of the origins or like a retelling of his origins. First whole issue is about his childhood and kind of that, like, having to hide his powers but not hide his powers, and which has been said before. But at the very end, he goes into the military. Like, it ends with him getting on a bus going to join the army.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm really interested in that, because it just makes sense to me that that's what he would do. At this point, he has not ever been a superhero. He beat up some bullies at one point, but he's not been a superhero. He's just been raised as, like, I've got weird powers in middle America by patriotic parents.
Yeah.
What else would he do? He didn't really know what to do, so that's what and so I'm really interested to see where it goes from here.
Well, especially if you're in, like, middle America, when you talk about them heroes, the military is going to be brought up a lot in that.
Right, yeah, and especially this is probably set in the 70s, maybe 80s.
Oh, okay.
80s. This isn't like 50s, as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong. No, it's definitely later than the 50s, but yeah, so it makes sense. I just didn't see it coming, because I've never really thought of Superman as being a military kind of guy. But it really does make sense. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Interesting.
You've read some books, haven't you?
Yeah, I read a lot of stuff. I read Heroes in Crisis, which we can talk a little bit more about now.
Sure.
So the minor spoiler, and this is going to be about what both you and I were disappointed with.
Yeah.
And it's that the kind of the ending and how it all hashed out with it was very superhero-y.
Yes.
And for something that the whole premise of it was the superheroes have to deal with a very real-life subject, which is a mass killing.
Something that people who aren't superheroes also deal with.
Right. There was a mass killing in a place that they wanted to be a safe place, something that we very much identify with as Americans. Yeah. This was... I wanted it to end with something not as superhero-y, but time travel and superheroes and everything.
Wally West is back. Okay.
Yeah. Everything was all involved in that.
Even if that's a big deal to you, it wasn't a big deal to me, but still disappointing.
What I loved about it were, and you agree, the vignettes.
Yeah.
The whole thing was there was a Sanctuary. Is that what it's called?
Sanctuary is the location. Yeah.
Sanctuary is a mental health facility for superheroes or even a couple of supervillains.
Villains who are willing to change.
Right. That were there.
Or wanting to.
With just trying to heal.
Yeah.
And just trying to get over this stuff. And it's got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, everybody just looking to a camera and talking about their issues.
Yeah. Some of them are like, I've been here for 4 months and I'm still not ready to leave. And somebody's like, I've been here for a week and I don't know about this. And Wonder Woman at one point, she's like, you know what, this isn't for me, and she just leaves.
Yeah,
like, which I really appreciated. And like there wasn't a lot of stereotypes there. It felt like they all just had their own thing. There's like this whole therapy program that they go through and have the opportunity to use. And they can relive traumatic moments and kind of deal with them, and that was super interesting.
It was.
Yeah,
and I really wish that my favorite graphic novel ever is Identity Crisis, and I love it, and I won't give any spoilers because I want you guys to go read it. But its ending was very not superhero-y.
Yeah.
Hero-y. Its ending was something that was a good twist and something that you look at, and it just breaks your heart. And that's it. Like, it's the whole thing is, in a similar way, it's very familial. There's a loss of a lot of important people, but it's kind of side characters, very similar in the way that it progresses, but the ending of Identity Crisis is not at all minorly superhero-y.
Not as much here. Yeah.
Not even close to as much. And again, you read it and you're like, oh, that sucks. This one, you read it and you go, oh, wait, what?
Yeah, like I mean, we talked about it before, but anytime time travel is involved, it inherently will not make sense.
Yeah,
like it inherently cannot make sense. So if you're trying to do a super emotional, like close to the heart, like story like this, and then you introduce something as goofy as time travel, there's like a dissonance there, is what it felt.
Absolutely.
Like. It felt like I am invested, and you pulled out the rug from underneath of me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would have much rather have enjoyed just a simple whoddunit. Batman and whoever is just trying to find who did this. They find them, and whoever the villain, this is an entirely different like way it would have gone. So whoever the villain was just said, some villain who said, I don't want you to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or, this world isn't safe. I'm trying to teach you that lesson.
Yeah.
Something like that, where it just presents it might not have even had like a simple resolution. Because that's a reality of the world, if we have a world where dangerous things exist, like guns or a villain with superpowers, whatever, then we are inherently not safe at all times, and we have to deal with safety versus freedom and all those things that I really wish it addressed more of those modern topics.
What I really, really wanted it to be was them going and saying, was it the Joker? Was it Lex Luthor? Was it whatever? And then at the end of the day, it's Larry Fitzgerald from down the street who got a gun and found a way inside and just opened fire.
Had some sort of mental disability or just issues, or had faced traumatic experiences, something that would reflect what actually happens in a mass shooting experience.
Absolutely. And then at the end, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman talk about their opinions on gun safety. And there's on one side people, and they represent all political opinions on it and all sides. Yeah. But they all just they kind of get mad at each other about it, and they talk about safety and all. Like, it'd have been so relevant and so
be a great
cool to see something
for
like that.
That inherent difference between Batman and Superman.
Absolutely.
Batman wants to take them all away.
Yes.
He is the authoritarian. Superman says, no, I think we can be better. without trying to force it on people.
Right.
I want to inspire people rather than control them.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman somewhere in between.
And she's always the ambassador.
Which that's happened before, but if you give it a really great like that's not Injustice or not Justice, but that's Kingdom Come in a nutshell right there.
Yes.
With the roles a little bit switched a little, but that's right there. But if you give it that really modern, relevant topic, it can hit in a whole different way.
Yeah.
So
that would have been so great.
A little disappointing that it didn't really go where I wanted it to.
It would have been a dangerous place to go, but I think it's still a very good one.
Well, yeah, no, that's what good art does. It would make people uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
People would protest that too, hopefully.
Yeah.
But
absolutely, yes. Instead of stupid Good Omens. That's another. We'll talk about that later, though.
We'll talk about that too.
But I do want to. Okay, because I want to talk about TV.
We might need to move through things a little bit faster.
Okay. Then, so going for books that I've been reading, I just started, DC Comics just came out with some novelizations of their graphic novels, and I am just about done with Mad Love, and it's the origin story of Harley Quinn. And you and I briefly talked about this earlier, but I was probably a third of the way through the book when we started about that, and now that I'm most of the way through it, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Before I was going to give it a 5, maybe even 4.5.
Yeah.
But it's gotten better in as much as, maybe not so much it's gotten better in as much as I found out why I was struggling with it. It's not so much that it's poorly written. It really is a love story.
Is it?
But in the worst way. Not the worst way like the book is a bad book, in the worst way like it's clearly manipulation and abuse.
Yeah, like a Harley Quinn Joker.
Right. And I'm going into it wanting to learn, wanting to see Batman and Punch and mystery, and
it's not about that.
Yeah, it's not even close to about that.
Is Batman in it?
I am 2/3, if not 3/4 of the way through the book, and he made his first appearance just recently.
So is this like, I know that the Killing Joke is one of them, and then there's another one.
Court of Owls.
Court of Owls. Those are the comic series, like those comic events novelized.
Right.
Novelized. That's how you say it. Is this based on like the Batman the Animated Series? Or is this original?
Here's what I will say. There are elements in this that were 100% pulled from Batman the Animated Series.
Okay, because that's where Harley makes her first appearance.
It's a single episode of Batman the Animated Series that these are being pulled
from. Not a lot to pull from.
So I don't know if I do know that there were comics made of Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
And so I don't know if there is a graphic novel that is
more to
the entirety of this. Yeah. But what I do know is, as I'm reading through this, I'm struggling with it because it's a love story, B, an outlandishly unhealthy love story.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting so frustrated and upset with Harleen Quinzel and other people in this that I'm like, please, somebody keep this in check. And so it's not so much that it's poorly written as much as just I'm really frustrated with it. I really am.
One last question about it. Are these books in the novels related to each other, or are they all
I think they're all individual.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the book's pretty good, though. Especially if you're a huge Harley Quinn fan, I recommend that you read this. It's a very easy read.
Sure.
That's for sure.
I think they tried to hit a wide audience there.
Yeah. So, okay. TV. Let's talk TV.
The old television.
And I'm going to start.
Okay.
Because I have a good one to bridge the gap.
Okay.
I watched the seasons, the most recent seasons on Netflix of Flash and Arrow.
Yeah.
The most recent season of Arrow.
The second to last seasons, I would assume.
Of both of them, yeah. The most recent season of Arrow, really good. Huh. It's really good because Arrow, the previous season, got caught. Had to come out public. Went to jail.
That's fun.
And so, like, spoiler for 2 seasons ago of Arrow. But he, in this one, the first, like, probably 6 or 7 episodes, he's in jail. Eventually, he gets out legally and everything goes fine. But now he's a public figure. And
so his identity was made public?
Right. Okay. Fully. And so, in this season, he works with the police department.
Interesting.
He's Officer Oliver Queen.
Oh, he's actually hired by the police.
Yes.
He's not like
he is Officer
Batman
Oliver Queen.
Like just like let
everything
him work.
He does, no mask, but he does get to wear his suit, and
Sure.
he's
can't have him not wear his suit.
Right. He's like, and him and his team, they're like scouts for the police department, and it's done really well.
Now is he held back?
Really interesting.
Like, is he? He's no. I would assume he's no longer allowed to just kill people.
So this is a tough part of, my wife and I, Jackie, were discussing this. This is a tough part of all TV shows of this nature. There is a lot of the big bad guy and moments of, people standing over them with a gun or an arrow pointing at the face of them. Somebody says, "Stop. Don't do this.
Don't do it."
But then they mow through henchmen like nothing else.
He doesn't deserve it. They did?
Yeah.
He's probably got a family too.
And of course, all the henchmen have masks or their faces
Yeah.
are covered, so you never have to think about that or
Yep,
worry about
yep.
that. But it's a lot of times like, he just shot that guy in the face. I watched him aim.
It's like at the
He
end.
did that executioner style. He kicked him in the back of the knee, pointed the gun at his head, and fired. Holy crap! Like,
It's like at the end of similar at the end of what was it, X-Men Days of Future Past, when Eric Lensher Magneto makes like a kind of okay decision, like, I see the error of my ways, and then and Professor X is just like, I see. Good to see you again, old friend. And then lets him go after he killed hundreds of people. And the same thing at the end of Apocalypse. He literally was about to destroy the Earth. And he's like, good to see. Wait, no. Put him in jail again.
Okay, you've changed your ways. See you later.
Nope. It just, okay.
On the flip side, Flash, bad season because it was steeped. It relied. It was 100% on the foundation of time travel.
Yeah. The Speed Force is a dangerous place to go for any kind of interesting story.
And they try to explain why sometimes they can time travel, other times they can't. They try to explain why sometimes this works and other times it doesn't. It's so flimsy, and it falls apart so much. By the end of the season, I'm just so frustrated with it. And I almost didn't want to finish it, except for I know the next season's the last one, so I wanted to finish this one.
Just got it. You're hate watching it now.
I did. I hate watched it, and I'm watching this, and just so many times I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they just do this? Well, hang on. If time travel works that way, why didn't they just do this?
Yep.
They could have fixed everything if they just do this.
Right.
And it was bad for that reason. Yeah. And I was so
That's hard to watch.
Yeah, it was poor storytelling. Yeah. So anyway, that's my shows.
I don't watch a lot of TV, so I didn't even finish Good Omens.
Well,
so
you didn't finish Good Omens?
I'm one episode in, to be honest. I started watching it. Watching TV as just sitting down and watching it is not something I do. Mm-hmm. I will rewatch something while playing a video game, or while Faith and I, while we're eating dinner, generally we'll just rewatch something. Like I don't watch new TV. I am looking forward to watching Stranger Things season 3 that came out yesterday, but I haven't.
It came out?
Yeah, it came out July 4th.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, season 3 is yesterday. So I'm looking forward to that because I do like Stranger Things. But yeah, so we can talk about Good Omens. I've read the book, so you don't have to worry about spoiling anything. But I loved the first episode.
I watched it while playing Slay the Spire.
Did you?
So yeah,
that's a pretty you've got that game down. So.
I do. I really
there are a couple games that
which we'll talk about in a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, but Good Omens was very good.
It was wonderful.
Man, it's so. I think a very good phrase to use for it is word is delightful.
Yeah, it was a fun romp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the apocalypse.
It's got this bright attitude toward the apocalypse.
Yes.
That through the entirety of the thing, I never felt like scared. Ooh, what's gonna happen? Ooh, whatever. Like,
definitely not supposed to.
It's so smiley and so wonderful. Like, because the whole thing's based on friendship. Like the story from
Crowley
the angels,
and Aziraphale, or however
right? Aziraphale. Yeah. From the angel and the demon, from the Antichrist and his friends,
and his group of friends,
right? From everybody,
it's about the witch hunter,
and the guy that she meets, and it's about friendship.
Yeah,
it really is,
and how the end of the world brings them together.
Yes, and I love it. Yeah. Oh, it was so good, and it was so much fun. And then again, little vignettes of Crowley and Aziraphale's friendship over time, even though Aziraphale never admits that they're friends until the very end.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh man.
And to me, that Good Omens, when I was reading it, it was basically this is dang it, what's the science fiction I can only remember the restaurant at the end of the world.
Oh, that's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
It's Hitchhiker's Guide, but about the Christian apocalypse, essentially.
Right, absolutely.
Quote unquote Christian apocalypse.
Yeah.
And just that tone that it strikes of never taking anything very seriously.
Oh man, and it's so
and a
good.
goofy narrator throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is God, by the way. God is
Well,
the narrator.
God played by Tilda Swinton.
And I loved it. It was Tilda Swinton, was it?
Oh yeah, people are upset by that too. We should talk about that controversy a little bit.
So yeah, I do want to talk about that. So if you guys don't know this, Fox and I are devout Christians.
Yes.
I just stepped down from my role, but I've been a youth pastor for more than a decade. Fox is a small group pastor.
I am a pastor still.
Yeah, we are devout in our faith,
yes.
But sometimes we're very disappointed in
the church that we claim to belong to.
Right. Well, we do belong to.
That we do belong to.
But I guess there were a large group of Christians that petitioned, like so many signatures.
They petitioned Netflix.
That Netflix stopped making episodes of Good Omens. And Netflix came out with a tweet that said, "Fine, we'll never make another episode of Good Omens."
So good. Best response. If you don't get the joke, Amazon made Good Omens.
Yeah,
it is
Netflix
not a
had
Netflix
nothing to
show.
do with it.
Oh, but it just reveals the problem that I have with this kind of protest.
Yes.
That it's usually not based on like actual knowledge of the subject or of what's being protested. Like, it just reveals, oh, this says something about Christianity that I don't like. Stop it. Like, and it's just a straight up like, I'm trying to censor you because I don't agree with what you're doing.
There are differing opinions on this, and I will say that other opinions are just as valid as this one. My wife and I talked about this, and she disagrees with me, but we came to the conclusion, I think we just disagree on this. Like,
sure.
We're not neither of us
sure.
wrong. But I am of the opinion that shows like The OC or The Hills or whatever, like, teen drama shows are more damaging in, like, faith-wise, are more steeped in sin than a show like Good Omens.
Sure.
Because to me, normalizing sin and in no way having a moral
dilemma over that sin.
Exactly. That's a problem. Whereas Good Omens, everything is based on this higher power. Like,
sure.
Even if it is blasphemous, let's be honest.
Yeah, it is straight blasphemous. Can't say it's not.
Right. At the same time, it gets people talking about faith. It gets people talking about the Bible, about God. Sometimes it'll be bad things. Sometimes it'll be misinformed things, but at least they're talking about it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they get in a conversation with somebody who knows more about this.
100%. It's like when
guide them in the right direction.
It's like when what's the Dan Brown book? The Da Vinci
Angels
Code came out.
No,
well, sure,
Angels
and Demons, sure.
Da Vinci Code, yes.
Da Vinci Code. When that came out, it was people hated it. But you know what also came out of it? 1 million Bible studies and like sermon series and
absolutely.
Like just things like, hey, let's talk about this. Like, it's a whatever book. Like, it's a work of fiction. It's a perfectly adequate. Yeah, sure. That's also true. We have to say here. Don't ever try to get your theology from something like, as a Christian, do not ever try to get your theology from anything that's not the Bible. Like,
right.
You're like, even if it's something written by Christians who believe the same thing you do, if you're reading Left Behind for your end times theology, you are going to be led astray.
Yes.
That is a work of fiction meant to entertain.
Absolutely.
If you're reading The Shack for your theology on who God is and God's personality, you're going to be led astray. If you're watching Good Omens for your end times theology and like the interaction between angels and demons, you're going to be led astray because it is not inherently made to teach you things.
Right.
It is inherently made to entertain you.
Yes.
So when anything like this, you have to recognize that. Hopefully everybody does when they're watching it, or people who don't like. Hopefully people watching Good Omens who are not Christians are saying, "This probably isn't what the Bible says." Like,
man, the sad part is I know there are going to be people out there that won't. That there'll be that, like, because it's close enough to the Bible
I guess
that there'll be people out there that assume that, not all of it obviously, but there are large parts of it that are absolutely true, when really no, it's I mean
Yeah, well,
it's all a work
it's
of
true.
fiction.
I mean, all the names, like, nothing in it is like the Antichrist being the like literal son of the devil is not a thing. As far as that's not a thing.
No.
That's basically from like the Omen, or like, you know, angels and demons interacting the way they do with each other and just having like that's not biblically based. Like,
no.
All of it is just a fun depiction of these kind of things, but in no way. So yeah, all of you do some research.
Yes,
understand
absolutely
that you are not trying to, like, they are not intending on teaching you things. They are intending on entertaining you with these things,
which they do a very good job of.
They do.
Good Omens is a very good show.
I really enjoyed. I mean, the book is really fun to read. The first episode was really faithful to the tone mostly, which was more important than you know, the nouns of it, more the adjectives. And so I really enjoyed. I hopefully maybe we'll continue watching it if I watch TV more.
It is a joy, and my wife is watching it on her own right now, but I think I'm going to jump in and, like, she thinks she's 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
I'll start at episode 3 and finish it with her again.
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes long.
Yeah, it's that good. It's a lot of fun. So, okay, that was our stints on television.
Yep.
Movies now?
Movies. This is where you have all kind. No, hold on. I'm going to stop us. I'm going to get into stage plays.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have one to talk about.
Yeah.
So my wife and I went to New York a couple weeks ago. We went to the big old Apple over there. Well, first of all, we did this thing called Broadway Roulette. We were intending on watching a show.
It's like Russian roulette, but way less dangerous.
You just play it on Broadway.
Oh, never mind.
In Times Square. No. So we were intending on seeing a show because it was kind of a touristy thing that we had never done, and we were interested in seeing some kind of show. Anything that we really wanted to see, you know, your Book of Mormons, your Hamiltons, all very expensive or not available. So what was within our price range and maybe interesting, there was lots of those.
Right.
And so what we decided to do, what we found was something called Broadway Roulette. You go in, you pay a flat fee, so $10 more for being Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, which we saw Saturday, so $68 for each of us.
Oh, wow, that's a great price.
It really is. That's with fees and everything. What you do is then they give you the list of shows, and all of it is like Broadway or just off Broadway. Nothing that's like some weirdo in some basement somewhere. It's all the stuff you would buy tickets for on Broadway.com, and you get to take 5 of the shows off the list that you just don't want to see. And then they send you a text the day of and tell you what you're seeing that day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So out of like maybe 20 or 25 like shows, I mean, technically we could have gotten tickets to Hamilton.
Right.
It's unlikely.
Right.
But what we did end up seeing is a show called Burn This. It's a revival. It's like I don't know when it was first written, but so the plot is essentially a relationship drama. There's a lot to it, you know, interpersonal drama and all that kind of thing. There's nothing like, oh, here's the premise. It's just a relationship drama, which wasn't my cup of tea. That's not usually my kind of thing. If it's just people and dealing with like, I'm in love with you, but I don't want to be in love with you. And okay, cool. That's fine. What was interesting though was that it was a 4-person cast. There was 4 people. Wow. There was one setting. There's just one set in this New York apartment. And the 2 main characters were Adam Driver and Kerry Russell. As in Kylo Ren was there.
Really?
Yeah. And then Kerry Russell is also, she's in the Americans, that TV show about Russian spies and whatnot.
Sure.
Very popular show. She was in Mission Impossible 3. Like, she's a very popular actress also. So that was really cool. Like, Adam Driver was just like, is a fairly small auditorium for something as big as this. So it was kind of cool to just have Adam Driver right there on stage. And
that is awesome.
And he was by far the best part. He is an excellent actor.
Yes.
Both in Star Wars and, more interestingly, most of the time in other movies. If you haven't seen Black Klansman, you should watch that because he was great in that. But yeah, it was really fun. Like, his character was super ridiculous in like a really human way, like a good way. He was just like a bombastic personality, and yeah, he did a lot of yelling on stage. It was really fun. But it was really fun to go and experience that. The actual play was not my favorite thing that I've ever seen, but it was a fun experience. So glad I did it.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool, man. Yeah, I've stage stuff, musicals more than anything. I've seen a lot of. I grew up on that. My mom's side of the family is very performance art like
Yeah.
based. So I've seen Rent live 4 times, once on Broadway. Seen Les Mis 3 times, Phantom of the Opera 3 times, Little Shop of Horrors, Oliver, all kinds of anyway. But as far as famous people go, I saw the producers in Los Angeles with Nathan Lane and
Ferris Bueller.
Martin Short.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
unfortunately it wasn't
I forget his name.
not Marlon Brando, dang it.
A little different.
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick.
I
There
know
you
it's
go.
MB, not Matthew Broderick. He's in the movie, but Nathan Lane and Martin Short, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it sounds great.
Those guys just incredible. So I'll never forget that. So,
Yeah. So
anyway,
that was fun. But that's all the plays I've got to talk about.
man,
so.
that's it. That's a short one for us as far as plays.
Short
go.
the segment.
I
complete.
think we just crossed a line of nerdiness that a lot of our fans aren't going to follow.
Hey, look, whatever, man. It's got Star Wars in it, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
fine.
close enough. That
It's
works.
got Kylo Ren.
Okay, movies. This past month and a half, 2 months-ish that I have been on bed rest, I think I've watched
You've watched every movie.
literally probably a little more than 100 movies.
Yeah, you've watched all of them.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into your multitudes, can I talk about something very recent and relevant to today's society?
Go ahead.
On Tuesday, I saw Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yeah.
My wife and I
haven't seen it yet.
impromptu just went and saw it. Kind of impromptu. We just didn't plan on it, but let's go. And it was great.
Yeah.
I to be fair, I am biased. I have a soft spot for Spider-Man. I mean, not if it's a bad movie. I hate Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man 3 is bad also. But I do love Spider-Man, so I'm willing to. But I loved Far From Home. Like, the story, like, it just continued because we watched Homecoming a couple days before.
Mm-hmm.
And it just continued the trend of, yeah, there's Spider-Man fights and bad guys and villains and whatever. But also half the movie is just like a teen comedy kind of like John Hughes movie, basically.
Which, man, like, it's so hard for me to recognize that Tom Holland is like 24
Yeah,
or something like that.
He's supposed to be 16 in this one, I think.
And he is. Tom Holland is 16.
He's a little baby boy.
He's so, oh my gosh, he's
Yeah.
a child. Like, it's so hard for me to see him in any other way.
Yeah.
Like Zendaya, she does a good job being that, but also she's in Greatest Showman, and I see her as an adult in Greatest Showman.
Sure.
Tom Holland is a child in everything that no matter where I see him,
He
he's
is
16
always a
years
baby.
old.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of animated voices actually soon. But.
He does.
Yeah,
Which there's a movie coming
But
out.
yeah, Far From Home was really fun. They handled Mysterio in such a good way.
Yeah.
To where the goofy Mysterio costume makes sense. There's like
All
a
right.
reason behind it and everything. Like man, they did some tie-ins to other things. There is one moment toward the end that I really want to talk to you about and mention specifically, but I can't. But it's one of my favorite moments in superhero movies ever.
Come watch my kids.
Kind of.
So I can go see the movie.
You know, I might take you up on that actually. How about Faith comes over and watches them with your wife, and we go see
No, because my wife's gonna want to see it too.
Nah, she doesn't need to. No, it was really fun. It was, as far as like the quality of the movie, 7.5. Like, it wasn't like an amazing movie.
It's got like a 68 Metascore
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, that's about right. It's right in that sweet spot. But I love Spider-Man, and there was some really funny things that they did. The whole time, like the basic plot is that Spider-Man's on a European tour with his science club or whatever, and the whole time, like, all these things are being manipulated by people, and like the teachers on the tour are just like oblivious the entire time. It's like, oh, we got a tour upgrade. Guess we're going to here now. Guess we're all gonna go to the opera. I guess we got these free tickets. Huh? I thought we were gonna go here. Like, all these, and just the teachers are just dumb the whole time. It's real fun. But yeah, it was a great movie.
Okay. Again, I've seen probably over 100 movies.
Yes.
I could talk forever, but here's what I want to do.
Give me your top few.
I'm gonna,
or most interesting few.
I want to talk about the Infinity Saga.
Okay.
So I did a shout out. I knew I was going to be on Bedros for a while. Did a shout out on Facebook. Said, hey, I want the Infinity Saga, and I was able, through talking to friends, to get everything that is out on video except for Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So I have watched everything, and here's what I'll say. I've watched Metascores. I looked up a lot of trivia, did a lot of things like that while I was watching the movies. But all of them average about a 7. Everything is elevated when you watch them in a bulk like this.
Yeah.
Everything is elevated when you get the tie-ins. I was telling you that I watched Iron Man 2, then I watched Avengers, then Iron Man 3, then Age of Ultron, then Civil War.
Yeah.
I purposely watched them in that order, and holy crap, did it make every single movie that much better. You get this, I forgot how cocky and overbearing and
basically
stupid douchebaggy Tony Stark is. And then you see him all the way when we get to the very end in like Infinity War.
Yeah.
And he's like this father figure.
Yeah.
And the way that he's grown, this huge arc that he goes through, but then it is just jam-packed in these movies that this arc really spikes.
So did you watch, sorry to interrupt, did you watch Homecoming?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that ties into Infinity War thematically so hard. Like,
yes, absolutely.
He specifically says, hey, if you die, that's on me. And they're like, oh no, it was.
Yeah.
He did die.
Oh my gosh. And then in Endgame when he comes back and oh my gosh.
Ties into Homecoming again with the whole like, this isn't a hug, I'm just opening the door.
Right.
And there's an actual hug and you're like, oh. Yeah, no, the Infinity arc is not really about the Infinity Stones.
No.
That is essentially Tony Stark's long story of starting from the bottom.
If you watch Captain America, he has his
true. I mean, yeah, all the characters have arcs.
Right. Well, but to me, it's Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's what the Infinity Saga is about, Captain America and Iron Man. And all of the characters have arcs, and which is why I'm kind of sad that Black Widow...
It's spoilers. It's fine.
Black Widow died.
The Russos,
right, that's true.
The Russos said it's fine.
Yeah.
And they are
Black Widow dies
now.
Because she didn't really get a great arc. She got a decent one, and there are little things here and there.
She got some little character changes.
And she still has a movie coming out.
A prequel. I'm also still convinced that she will come back. I think her and Gamora will come back.
So, well, yeah. So anyway, but... her story ended and she didn't get a full arc, but Captain America's and Tony Stark's stories ended.
Yes,
but they got these beautiful, huge arcs. Watching Captain America be this hero, but also getting in Winter Soldier, Winter Soldier was this moment where he had to decide, okay, am I willing to go against the rules? Like I've always been this paragon, this paladin, basically.
Yeah, I am America.
Yes. Okay, and now am I willing to say no, to go against the rules? Okay, wait. The good guys are bad? Then who is good? Then what is good?
Yeah.
Like, all of his moralities are questioned, and then you get into Civil War, and all of a sudden you see him realizing, okay, I need to fight for what is right.
What is right, not...
That's what... It doesn't matter what country, what law, anything at all. I'm fighting for what is right.
Yeah.
And they have that good moment of saying, you know, when somebody's saying move, you need to stand and say, no, you move. And that's just such a good moment of Captain America always standing stalwart. And I remembered that moment.
That brief moment when you see him
in Endgame
with the entire army of Thanos.
Yes,
and
it's just
like...
him and all of them. And in my brain, I'm just thinking to myself, Steve saying, no, you move.
Yeah. And the audience is on board. It's like, yeah, he'll take him.
Yeah, exactly, right?
He'll be fine.
Okay, he'll do this. Yep, here we go.
Yeah, he's got it. Yeah, no, they did a very good job of creating two very long arcs for those characters that kind of took opposite directions. Tony Stark started at the top where he is rich and does whatever he wants and is kind of the cause of a lot of violence and suffering in the world. Whereas Captain America starts from the bottom, powerless, and wants to help people who are suffering in the world. And they kind of meet in the middle and clash because like he starts to see that it's not about America, it's not about these things, and needs to break what is supposed to be the law and the rules, whereas Tony Stark just needs more protection and laws for himself that he sees because he's had these problems. He starts to say, yeah, let's put a suit of armor around the world.
Yeah.
In Age of Ultron. You know what? Sokovia Accords. We need these guys. Somebody needs to guide us. Whereas, like, they did a really good job, and then those two ideals clashed. It's like Superman and Batman. They clashed. logically that's what would happen.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they both kind of came back together and realized like we do things a little differently, but we still have this common goal.
We're both needed for different reasons, but we're both needed.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're both willing to make the sacrifice for those that we love.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where they come together rather than believing the exact same thing. It was such a good job.
Yeah. So I really, if you guys have the opportunity, any possibility at all, to maybe if you have the time, make 2 movies a day, go through the Infinity Saga over the course of a month or whatever, and just think of it as an entire story.
Yeah.
And the only exception to this rule is what is officially, canonically, part of the Infinity Saga, The Incredible Hulk, is a bad movie.
Oh,
and
it's the least good one, I would say, of the entire thing.
I guess it's not bad, but compared to the rest of them, it's not great. And it's the only one in which I watched and then tried to tie into the rest and said, well, hang on, wait.
Yeah.
If this, then that. But what if, and then that, and then what?
That Thunderbolt Ross coming back, and you're like, wait, no, man, you released the Abomination, like, or you were like a bad guy essentially in that one, and you try like. We don't forget that. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or whatever happened to Betty.
Yeah, that's true. Where did she go?
Second. She's like the main love interest for Bruce Banner, and
she transmogrified into Black Widow.
Black Widow. Yeah.
Like, she's now Black Widow.
Bruce Banner's character totally forgets about her entirely.
Yeah.
The end of the movie, there's this little teaser in which he purposely turns into the Hulk, and it seems like he's getting control of it.
Yeah.
It seems like he's, getting... But then when we get back to the Hulk in Avengers, no, not at all.
At the start, he doesn't. He then does toward... Like, that's kind of... Yeah, the Hulk's always been kind of like a flip-floppy, what they need in the moment kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
a little disappointing, but yeah.
So, yeah, the fact that... And it has to be because there is... at the end of the movie, there's... Tony Stark coming in to talk to General Ross.
That was really the point of that movie.
Right. And so there is a tie-in to Iron Man. There is a tie-in to the Infinity Saga. So it is in canon. But, man, the story and everything about it just doesn't fit.
They also did retcon one of the scientists in Incredible Hulk in some laboratory somewhere. I don't know which one. But is the same actor as the science teacher from Spider-Man. Like, their main teacher wears glasses, has like
right
hair.
Yeah
They retconned it so that's the same person. That was him. Like, then he graduated from his grad whatever and became a teacher.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know
that's
that.
A fun little
that's cool. That's good. So yeah, that's the exception to the rule there as far as I go. But other than that, man, of course, nothing like this has ever been done before. This is the first time a movie...
And it's incredibly impressive how successful they were.
Exactly.
There's probably a million little things that you're like, but overall, real good job.
And really, at the end of the day, when you watch everything and you lump them all together, I even enjoyed Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp more for watching it with everything. And just the way that their attitudes, and again specifically Scott Lang's attitude toward everything, where he's small mindset. If anybody's going to be your friendly neighborhood anything, he wants to be the friendly neighborhood Ant-Man. Like, he never wanted to be a superhero. It all just kind of happened to him.
Right.
But then seeing him, take on, especially in Endgame, like these massive things, and in Civil War, like, again, he's probably the most, not Spider-Man, he is probably the most out-of-place person in Civil War.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to watch, and they do such a good job with it.
It was good casting, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good role.
Absolutely.
He's a good actor for that role.
So I cannot say enough how much I enjoyed watching those in a clump together. I really recommend other people do it, too.
Yeah.
How about you? Any movies?
Movies,
yeah.
So, I mean, I've watched a few. I will mention on the way back from New York, we were able to, they had the in-flight entertainment and a bunch of free movies.
Oh, right.
Watch. There were a couple that I watched, though. I made 3 choices I had never seen before and kind of knew something about, and made 3 good choices, actually. First one, I'll briefly go through them. First one was called Free Solo. It's a sequel to Solo.
Yep.
And this one, you don't have to pay for tickets.
Oh, that's nice. That's
the second one, just kidding. Obviously, it's a movie about Alex Hanold, I think is his name. He's a very famous rock climber. This is a documentary about this guy who decided, I'm going to free solo climb El Capitan.
What is free solo?
Free soloing is both of them have specific meanings, free and solo.
Right.
But okay, I think solo is you have nobody there with you.
Right.
And free is you are not attached by any rope. So essentially what he does is climb a 3,200-foot sheer rock face in Yosemite. It's like one of the largest, if not the largest, like barren rock face in the world. Completely unattached to
with
it.
his bare hands.
He literally,
and
at
some
any
talcum
moment, could have
powder.
fallen off to his death.
Yeah.
There was nothing holding him to that wall other than himself.
Well, and you were telling me that he had friends that died, right?
So the whole thing is like an hour and 45-ish. The actual climb is maybe 15 minutes of the entire thing. It's not really like, it's obviously about that and about his like lead up to that.
Right.
But it's more of a character study about the kind of person and the kind of mindset that you have, like, as a free solo climber, because he does a lot of this, where it's really interesting, where his view toward mortality, his view toward like what is his goal in life, because he talks like he has a girlfriend, and there's a big part that's like talking about like he's never really had a super close like committed relationship, which might be his personality, might just be, but also he has this like underlying mentality that anything like that is just another attachment that will distract me from doing this thing, because as soon as you're 1,000 feet off the ground on a rock face and you're going to die if you fall, anything that would like that you will miss when you die is going to not make you want to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like a brief conversation that he has with his girlfriend, it's his girlfriend he's had for the longest, like the closest relationship he's ever, and where he's just like, yeah, if I fall, like, you and my family, you'll be sad, obviously, but you'll get over it. And she's like, no,
yeah.
It's
not that simple.
Yes, I'll get over it eventually, or just feel better, but that's not how it works. Like,
right.
I'm not just gonna like, oh, well, it happens,
it's
it was
been
always
3
days. Let's move on. Like, it's just this I can't call it weird, because it's it's just who he was, but like, to kind of understand the mindset of somebody who, because everybody I've talked to, I've mentioned this to, especially Faith, their first question is, why would he do that?
Right.
And it's just like, this is his goal. Like, he talks about like it sounds corny, but he feels the most alive when he finishes. Spoiler, he climbs it. He finishes the climb. When he gets to the top, like, he talks like I'm like I connect with him a lot, because he's not a very super emotional person. I don't consider myself super emotional, but like you could tell based on the rest of it that he was like just pumped, like adrenaline rushing and all this kind of stuff. But he just talks about like, this is what I do. This is why I'm here. Maybe I'll stop eventually. This is a pretty big goal. I don't know if there's something I can do that would top this, so maybe I'll calm down a little, but this is what I do. And just the kind of,
it's that thrill seeking, the adrenaline as a drug, almost.
He talked briefly about how when he was a kid, like, he got into rock climbing, especially solo rock climbing, because his social anxiety and made him feel that talking to people and asking them to come with him was scarier than climbing a rock wall himself, like by himself, and the fear of dying. Like, and that basically led to him just having a career of doing this on his own. So it was really cool. It was a really good documentary. I recommend watching it. I think it won Best Documentary at the Oscars last year, or this year.
Oh, cool.
Second movie was called Overlord. Picture any World War II, we're a squad, we're gonna go on a mission, and so that the bigger D-Day can happen, we got to take the plot of this was, we got to take out this radio tower so that our transmissions can get through and we can take back Germany or France or whatever, on D-Day. And then once they get there, realize that there's weird secret Nazi experiments and there's like Nazi zombies, like, and it just gets ridiculous and super gory and super like over the top, kind of like, did you ever see what's the Quentin Tarantino Robert Grindhouse?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? One of them is very similar, where it's like, or maybe From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. Absolutely,
where that
yes.
starts as a fairly simple crime thriller,
Yeah,
and then goes off the rails into a vampire movie.
Yes.
It's that. And it was really fun to watch. It felt like an 80s B movie with a budget. One of the main characters was Kurt Russell's son.
Oh, nice.
He's in lots of things, but he was really great in it. So that was fun to watch. And then the third one was oh dang it, what was the third movie that I watched? Let me think about it. You got another one you can talk about?
Well, just on this moment here, the only movie that I've ever seen on a plane, and this is...
Was it Snakes on a Plane?
No. Oh, they wouldn't do that. So fun fact about airplanes is they will not show, they purposely choose. No disaster movie, no Titanic, no Passenger 57, nothing in which people like are on a vehicle and something goes wrong on that vehicle.
But what about Airplane? Can I watch Airplane?
I wish. So anyway, the one time it was my honeymoon, my wife and I are flying from Oregon to Florida, and we're like, you know what? It's our honeymoon. We've saved up so much money. I'm going to spend this time right now. We have a budget even for the flight. I'm going to rent a movie. I'm going to rent, you know what just came out on video? Ghost Rider, starring Nicolas Cage. And I felt trapped on that airplane. I was like, I can't get away from this movie.
This movie is a disaster.
It was, I literally cannot describe,
so
A, how bad that movie is.
Yeah.
And then B, the fact that there was nothing else I could do. Like, I was not at my house, in which I was a little bit bored. I could go get a drink of water. I couldn't do anything. Like I'm on an airplane. I'm in the seat. I can't even just get up to walk around for a little bit.
I'm going to go pee again because I can't sit here.
And so I watched it. I watched the whole movie, and it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And I regret it.
No, that's fair. I still can't remember what the third movie was. But it was pretty good.
I'm good. I'm glad.
I remember just enjoying everything I watched. So
it's okay. We're at time now, anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I got one. We're not at time. I got more to talk about.
Okay.
We haven't talked about video games at all.
Oh, geez, we didn't talk about video games
at all. It's a longer episode. It's been a month.
Sure. It's been video games. Go ahead.
I have been playing all of the modern Wolfenstein games, all the Machine Games series. So Wolfenstein: The New Order, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, and I think maybe halfway through Wolfenstein: The New Colossus right now. And they're so fun. I had played The New Order already before. Doesn't make it less fun the next time, because they ride this line of, hey, this is a ridiculous, over-the-top Nazi shooting game. Like, this is what you do. You're just shooting Nazis.
Yeah.
The premise is the Allies lost World War II. Basically, when the Nazis dropped a nuke on Manhattan, the United States surrendered, and that basically was the death knell for the Allies.
Yeah.
You, in a last-ditch effort before that happened, before the nuke was dropped, you were trying to take out General Death's Head, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You basically get knocked out a window, you get brain damage, you get put in a mental facility for 14 years. It's now 1960, and the Nazis have ruled the Earth for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then the premise is you meeting up with the resistance and taking the fight back, like trying to take down the Nazi regime, like still.
Right.
And now, like, in this alternate history, there are, like, the Nazis have giant, massive skyscraper-sized robots and Panzerhunden, which are basically giant robot dogs and, like, all this ridiculousness. But they also, at the same time, tell a very, like, intimate character story about William Blazkowicz, who's been the main character of the Wolfenstein games since the very beginning,
I didn't realize it was always the same guy.
All way back when, like the original 80s video games. Same guy. He didn't have a character in that, but it's the same guy. And so you actually learn about him now. There's a love story between him and somebody else. There's, like, the resistance is made up of a bunch of basically there's a representative from each of, like, the groups of people that the Nazis wanted to destroy. You have, the homosexual, you have, like, a black person, you have somebody who is mentally has a mental disability, Jews, but it never feels like here's all the stereotypes that they wanted to kill. Every single one of them is given an opportunity to actually show their character, to, like, be an interesting person more than just a stereotype that the Nazis want to kill. And so while you're running through Europe, and in Old Blood, you're going back to Castle Wolfenstein. That's a prequel. There's Nazi zombies in that one. It gets ridiculous. And then in New Colossus, you go to America. While you're going through all of this, just blasting Nazis away with giant guns, you also care about what's happening.
Yeah.
Right now, the New Colossus, I'm halfway through it. It's, like I said, one that pretty early on you go to America, where the Nazis have basically... They control it, but they've contracted out with the KKK to kind of run things, which is really interesting. But actually, it was really funny. Yesterday, I happened to play the mission of the game that takes place on July 4th.
Nice.
Which yesterday was July 4th for us.
Well
in real
timed,
life.
yeah.
It was Liberation Day in that, because that's when the United States signed, like, basically capitulated to the United States. So it's called Liberation Day. But while you're in America, you go back to your family home. You have flashbacks to your abusive father and your Jewish mother, and like the Nazis slowly taking over, and how that's like affecting your family as like this small child. And like, I mean, that's way before it. Basically, you get to learn more about who you are and how the war has affected people, and then also shoot giant robot Nazis in the face with, grenade launchers, and like really good riding of the line between ridiculous and interesting. That's cool. Serious. So yeah, been really enjoying these games.
Unfortunately, my video game system, my computer, everything is all downstairs.
Yep.
And stairs are still a challenge for me. I only do them when I have to, like when I'm leaving my home. But other than that, I have been playing a lot of Slay the Spire. I've been talking about that a lot. Actually, finally finished. I didn't realize that the way to get the end game is you can't do it on the dailies. I do the dailies every day, but with the you have to do on just the regular game, and then you have to do specific like things to get 3 keys, and the keys that she gets to the heart, whatever else. And I finally beat it with the defect, which is one of them, and it's hard. It's really hard, but I felt real good. I cannot do it with the other 2 still. Yeah. Like, it's rough, man. It's really difficult.
Have you tried being better at video games?
I'm trying. That's literally what I'm doing right now.
That's my advice.
So, but the big thing I want to talk about with Slay the Spire is an article that I sent you yesterday that I'm really excited about. Is I have to figure out how to make the mods work. But there is a mod right now in which you are not the Defect, the Ironclad, or the Silent. You are Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
And all of your cards are Sailor Moon themed cards, and you go through the Spire as Sailor Moon. And
it's a whole new game now.
I really, really want to get that going. The only way they could have more finely tuned it for me is if you were a Dragon Ball Z character, if you were Goku, or if you were a Jedi, if you were Luke Skywalker. It's the only way it could have been.
Or if your 3 options for characters were Gohan specifically.
Yes, specifically.
Tim Drake
specifically.
Or Sailor Moon.
Sailor Mars would have been.
Mars.
Yeah, it would have been more my wheelhouse. But still, this is so cool. So because I loved Sailor Moon when I was a kid. When it very first came over to America, I watched every episode that was in America at the time. And I know there's been so much more since I stopped watching it, but I still hold a special place in my heart for it. So it was real cool to see that. But other than that, I haven't been playing any video games at all. Well, it's been sad. Bloodborne's been sitting downstairs, and I know I'm going to pick up that controller and die a lot because I don't remember how to play. I'm going to have to do a lot of like...
If I'm not mistaken, we do have a plan to play together this Sunday.
We do.
So
yes. What are we playing?
I don't know. I don't want to go back to The Witness.
It's been too long. It's been too long.
And I was getting close to my limit on it anyway.
I really enjoyed it. I may play it on my own.
I played on your own, sure.
Right. But
I'm playing all these Wolfenstein games specifically to have the story because Youngblood comes out on the 26th.
The 26th?
Not, a couple weeks before that. But
we will be playing Youngblood.
Yes, we will be playing Wolfenstein Youngblood, and we will be playing as William Blazkowicz's twin daughters. Who at one point are kind of foreshadowed, which is really cool in the very first game, which is I thought really cool. Well, the first of this new series. But yeah, so looking forward to that. But we'll find something to play on Sunday.
Yeah. You have anything else for video games?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, then we're gonna call this an episode. Thank you guys so much. An episode? Wait, we're gonna end the podcast.
I mean,
here.
Yeah, it's an episode of our podcast.
I guess that's true. Yeah. thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for catching up with us. You guys are awesome. I am so sorry for the long absence that I've had here, but
you owe us all money.
We're getting back on track, and I will pay you guys in content. So,
all right.
Yeah. So we're getting back on track. We're going to be making more content, and then hopefully pretty soon I'm going to start releasing Bloodborne episodes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I can't carry this YouTube channel. Actually, I could.
You sure could.
I've got a lot of
video
games.
Just fine with that. Thanks, guys, for listening. Always remember that saved games save lives.
Bye.